And congratulations to Max Verstappen on winning the Constructors' Championship.
Well, mathematically, he's not won it yet. Only Red Bull have.
He's won it.
Well, you never know. Mercedes could come back. But yes, welcome to this week's episode of the 107 podcast. Actually coming to you on a race day, which is...
Yeah. So
makes a change, right?
The 6 a.m. starts, mate. You get the 6 a.m. starts and you get to see Oscar Piastri on the podium.
We did. Unbelievable accent. Unbelievable podium. God, English has escaped me. But obviously everyone was waking up super early for this race, which was quite frankly very good, very entertaining.
Only most people, because remember you put that post up and we got a lot of angry Americans.
Yeah, I know. Americans have been like, we have to do this every single race week. And it's like, yeah, all right, we get it. But we're taking the piss out of the fact that you have to do it every race week and we have to do it once.
So salty.
Like, honestly. Also, somebody was saying like, oh, like it's at midnight this time. And I'm like, that sounds great. Like a F1 race at midnight on a Saturday night. Like, what's wrong with that? Idiot.
Also, like for those on like the West Coast, if you watch like NBA, NFL, like it's crazy times for us. I mean, Formula One is a global sport. The teams are mainly headquartered in the UK. That's kind of where they're going to aim for, right? Yeah. And most of the countries, Middle East, Europe, UK, that's kind of the time.
It lines up pretty well.
Yeah, and I'm like big respect to those Americans, to the Australians, New Zealand, Asian fan base who do this on the regular basis.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We're happy when it's like 3 race weeks in a row, and they're like,
God damn it, yeah. But anyway, so going back very, very slightly. So obviously everyone was up early, but you were up particularly early, weren't you?
I was indeed. I was up. I was so stupid. I went to bed at 11:30 last night.
Why? Why was that a good idea?
I don't know. I was out and I just didn't pay attention to what time I needed. And so I got up at 3:30, left the house at 4 a.m., went and picked up a friend at 5, and I got to the F1 Academy for the Suzuka watch party at 5:55, so 5 minutes before race time.
F1 Academy or F1 Arcade?
F1 Arcade, sorry.
Nice.
It's just such a weird name for a bar, but I understand why.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, there is an official Formula One themed bar in St. Paul's in London, and they do watch parties where you and a bunch of other, mostly hardcore fans, considering it was 6 a.m., can get together and watch on the multiple screens the Formula One race. And it's a really, really good atmosphere. I would highly recommend it. I did ask them when I went there earlier in the season, I was like, would you ever do watch parties for Australia or Suzuka or, races at crazy times? And they said no, due to the alcohol license. So they must have got that sorted, because I saw someone, I don't know what country he was from, I don't know who he was supporting, but I'm going to say Oscar Piastri, because this guy ordered a shot and a beer at 6 a.m. Right? And I've just stereotyped a bunch of Australians, and I'm really sorry, but fair play to him.
Honestly, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. If you want to have a beer and a shot at 6 a.m, you crack on, mate. Honestly, go for it.
Yeah. But if you ever get the chance to do it, it is really good fun. The atmosphere it was quieter, I'd suppose, than say like a 3 p.m. or a 1 p.m. race.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah. But the atmosphere is really good. And would you like to know who got the loudest claps when they did their overtakes? There was 3 particular drivers that got the loudest claps.
I'm going to go with Hamilton, Alonso, Yuki.
It was in 3rd place. It was Oscar Piastri.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Okay,
I think a lot of Brits do really like Piastri.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In 2nd place, it was Charles Leclerc.
Oh,
because he had a really good overtake on George Russell.
On Russell, yes.
And in 1st place was Lando Norris with an overtake on George Russell.
Oh, so people just didn't like George Russell then?
So I'm trying to see, maybe is there a theme here where there's like, yes, they got past George Russell. Yeah, and there was a few for Lewis when he got past George Russell. But yeah, Lando got the most claps, but I was really surprised that Oscar got quite a few as well. But yeah, highly recommend it. Hopefully one day if you're down in the UK, we can do one. And I might do the Vegas one, which is again a 6 a.m. start. Only because the thing is, if you do the 1 or 3 p.m. ones, you can get tickets, but you're standing basically. All the seats are
Right,
taken.
sure, yeah.
And also with it, you get unlimited sim time in the little sims they have there. So you get a chance to go and play on the sims if it's a boring race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was up at stupid o'clock and then I came back, had a nap, and woke up to loads of angry Americans with some of your memes.
I love angering Americans with my memes. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Which is strange because they're some of our actually most passionate followers.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Oh well, you know what?
Yeah.
If you can't take fun being poked at you, then whatever.
Yeah. But before we dive into talking about Red Bull and the constructors and the whole race standings, what did you think of the race itself?
I thought it was great. I think it was probably about as entertaining for me personally, as entertaining as last week. I would argue it's probably top 3 races this season.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It
top
was
3, definitely.
Suzuka always brings it. And I think with the tire degradation, and I wouldn't say Suzuka has the best opportunities for overtaking, but it has the most.
It's got a decent amount.
What's the term? Spectacular. Like when you overtake a Suzuka, it's usually a bit of a crazy move, like through 130R, or coming into turn 1, going around the outside of the inside. It's pretty cool. Even going up to Spoon, right? We saw a few there.
Jesus Christ.
We didn't see a few there.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Jesus.
Okay, but also congratulations to Red Bull for winning the constructors. It's their 6th time.
Yes.
So should we start with someone we're probably not going to talk too much about, Max Verstappen? Had a little bit of a battle just at the start with the 2 McLarens, but once he got away, he just controlled the race.
Yeah, I was so the start of the race, I was surprised at how quickly the McLarens got off the mark.
Yeah, especially Oscar. Oscar was right up by him, and as Max was focused on Oscar, Lando tried to move around the outside.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
No, and I think that it's also because all 3 of them respect each other as well. So there was no racing incidents or anything like that because they're all trying to give each other the best amount of space possible. Yeah. Probably Max is trying to give them equal amount of space because he knows that the constructors is on the line today, his driver championship's on the line and stuff like that. So I feel like he probably gave Lando and Oscar a little bit more room as well. But also, let's be honest, he knew that they weren't he wasn't going to be racing them for the win.
Compared to Sergio, we'll talk a little bit about Sergio in a bit, who made some questionable moves. Max was like, look, if they get past me, they get past me, I'll probably get them in strategy or just overall pace later on in the race, right? And we saw him do that. What other race did you do that at? Was it at Monza?
Honestly, he did it during the British Grand Prix.
The British Grand Prix, as well, where he's like, I don't need to bomb down the inside. I don't need to take any risks. I'll get past him eventually. And I think that shows a matured Max compared to when he first started out. So,
true.
Yeah, he controlled the race from start to finish. There was obviously the Ferraris that could have maybe pushed the constructors over to Qatar, but 25 points, fastest lap. He got it done, and well done to him.
Nothing else you can do, and I think that Ferrari did the best they could have done today, in complete honesty. We won't talk about them fully now, but they did the best they could have done today. They got some decent results.
Considering they're memed about strategy and pit stops and everything like that, they've really taken a turn midway through the season, and good for them, and hopefully they can give their drivers a faster car next season and see what they can do.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think Max absolutely dominated. He didn't put a foot wrong whatsoever. He just absolutely smashed it. But I do have one question. So, on the podium at the end, he kissed his trophy and it lit up with the colours of the Dutch flag, right? So all of the trophies, as far as I'm aware, have that feature in. So if Oscar kissed his, technically it should come up with the colours of the Australian flag. So it should be obviously like a dark blue, a little bit of red, that sort of thing, right? But then I thought to myself, because nobody else kissed their trophy, I was like, can you imagine if it was programmed to only show the Dutch colours?
Well, I mean,
because it was the colours of the winning, winning flag.
Lando would have got away with it, but Oscar wouldn't have.
No.
But hopefully, I hope they put it on their social media, McLaren, of it lighting up. And
I hope so.
If it does show the Australia, but the Australian flag does have the Union Jack in it.
It does, yeah. So
I
it would
just quickly
be
Googled it. So it's
mostly
got
the
red, white, and
same.
blue.
Yeah, it would
So,
be
yeah.
mostly the same colours. Also, I want to see if Christian, if he were to kiss his, obviously that was the constructors one, whether or not that would come up in Austrian colours. So it would be red, white, red.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to know. Like, I'm just genuinely very curious, and I'm pretty sure most other people would be pretty curious as well. So if I find that footage, I will share it on the 107 Instagram and TikToks, and I'll let you guys see.
I did like that idea.
It's very cool. It's very Japanese, but it's very cool.
But no, that's cool. I
love
like
it.
that. Yeah.
I think these trophies are probably one of the best all year. They're not as good as the French Gorilla.
The French Gorilla
is elite. That is levels above anything else. It's so good.
I do like the Monaco Circuit Trophy. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's very classy. It is very classy.
To have like the circuit you won at or got a podium at, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's the same with the Red Bull Ring ones as well. Like, they are awesome. But enough about what's in Max's trophy cabinet.
Wait. Before we go on, are you wearing your Apple Watch or Samsung Fitbit, whatever? No. Nothing. So you can't check your heart rate.
No, you can't.
We can just see you get redder and redder.
Honestly, you will. I'm furious. I'm genuinely furious. Would you like to talk about who we're talking about?
I'll leave that till last because I know we're going to talk about it a lot. So Sergio Perez had a race to forget. He had the clash with Hamilton at the start, which I think left Hamilton with a little bit of damage. He had to manage through the race.
So Bono did get over on the radio and he did say, like, it's minor damage.
Yeah. He got a penalty for overtaking Alonso when the safety car was out. They retired the car because he went through about 15 different front wings. They then decided, if we don't serve our second penalty, the team decided, it was quite clever, it'll get pushed over to Qatar. So they got him out 7 laps after the leader. He went out, did a lap, did a pit stop.
It was about 15 laps behind.
Was it 15 laps?
Yeah.
Right. And he came in and they just retired him, ended
immediately.
Yeah. Considering it was Honda's home race, they could have wrapped up the constructors nice and easily. Sergio didn't really do himself any favors in showing why he is probably going to race there next season with Ricciardo and Yuki at AlphaTauri. And he's not really pushing Max enough to cause fireworks. But no matter how well, unless he does super well, like a season like Max has this season, I don't see him staying past next season, unfortunately. And if the other teams catch up, the Ferraris, the Mercedes, and they're pushing Red Bull for the constructors, and he's not pulling his weight, unfortunately, I feel Red Bull will let him go. We talked about how Max Verstappen has kind of shown maturity and patience in overtakes. Sergio didn't do that when he dive bombed the inside of Magnussen and spun him around, damaged his car, and maybe cost Haas a chance at some points. But I'm just going to step back and let our
because
Haas
I am
fan, our
ready
resident Dane fan,
unload. What an absolute disaster class from Perez. This race was very clearly one to forget. But I don't know what on earth goes through his head, because in the last 3 races he's had contact with was it Yuki on the first lap, then had contact with in Singapore, then had contact with Alex as well, and then he got like a slap on the wrist, didn't even get a penalty for the first one. And then you think, oh, it's Japan, it's the home race, we want to secure the constructors, we need to, maybe play it a bit smart here. He goes, nah, fuck that, goes straight out the window, overtakes during the safety car, big no-no, then sort of overtakes but then hands the places back when rejoining. I don't really have a problem with that, to be completely honest. That's absolutely fine, because he gave the places back almost immediately. But then you go and twat Magnussen around, and then you just retire the car because it's your third fucking wing of the race. And then you like go, oh, unretire the car just so I don't have to serve a grid penalty, which I know wasn't his decision. It was a team decision. It was a very clever decision. But I remember when he span Kevin round, and I looked at my girlfriend, who was also watching the race at the same time, and go, I'm pissed.
Who is Danish.
Who is also Danish, yeah. Well, I live in Denmark as well. And I have a soft spot for Kevin as well. And Haas. So like it just rubbed me up the complete wrong way. Because the overtake that he was attempting, I think, and the F1 TV commentators they said it as well, is that most cars are used to jumping out of the way as soon as a Red Bull comes anywhere near them, because they know their race isn't with them. They know that, they're like, there's no point in really putting up that much of a fight. However, this is Kevin Magnussen, who doesn't typically move out of the way. Plus,
Magnussen is and always will be stupid, as Charles Leclerc said.
Apparently, yes. But my point is that I personally don't think Kevin saw that move coming whatsoever, because Perez was so far back. The move was never on. Ever.
The move was never on. And part of Perez's problem is he's not qualifying on the front row.
No.
He's qualifying a couple of cars ahead of him. So he's got to make those moves to get up to second.
Like I said, just stupid. Complete and utter stupidity from Perez the entire time he was in the car today. And like I said, it really rubbed me up the wrong way. It really, really did, and it pissed me off. Like the guy can just leave. I don't particularly want to talk about him again.
I think honestly, he needs a season to be over. Just needs to go home to his friends, family, to Mexico, relax, reset, and just come back fresh.
I said to you, I said this is the last straw. Like, he's just done it again and again and again and again and again. He messes up almost every single race week, and I've just had enough. Like, he can just jog on. End of the day, that is what it is.
It seems very eerie of Pierre at Red Bull, where Pierre was just pushing and just would get caught in incidents and things like that, and crash the car because he's just really trying his hardest, and he's up against Max Verstappen. And so you've gone from the lowest to lowest. You want to go to the highest of highs?
Yes, highest of highs. Yeah, fucking rookie podium. First time in 6 years we've had a rookie podium. First time in 6 years. The first time in 10 years that a rookie has led a Formula One race. And that, my friends, is Oscar Piastri. Ugh, what a drive.
Sorry, mine's gone blank. Who was the last rookie to get on the podium?
So it was Stroll in 2017. That was the last rookie on the podium.
I had a feeling it was Stroll, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Azerbaijan or something like that? It must have been. I think it was Azerbaijan.
Yes, because it was in the Williams, right?
Yeah, I think it was in the Williams.
Because Valtteri Bottas was also on the podium.
Yep.
So, that was it. So
cool.
Yes, so absolutely unreal. First rookie podium in years. He smashed it. He's absolutely smashed it. I think it's very clear to see that, especially when Lando was asking for the team orders, it's very clear to see that Oscar is still nowhere near the level of Lando. Essentially, he might pull it out the bag every now and again, but Lando is still, at the very least in race pace, still very far ahead of Oscar. However, that's not to say that Oscar is no good or anything like that. Oscar is still absolutely phenomenal, but Lando is just a little bit ahead of him. And Lando had an absolutely fantastic race, obviously finishing P2. For McLaren, they were the highest scoring team. They didn't really put a foot wrong whatsoever. I looked up the statistics as well. And in the first race where both cars finished, this was this season in Saudi Arabia, Norris was 86.4 seconds behind, and Piastri was 85 seconds behind the winner of that race, which was Perez. So to then go to this race where they were only 19 seconds and 36 seconds behind, look at the difference that they've managed to make up while their developments have all come through, but also trying to stay up with Red Bull's developments as well. We both know that they have a new floor this weekend too, or had a new floor that increased their top speed. But it just goes to show like how far that McLaren team have come in the space of 3-4 months since they brought in these upgrades. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So if you're a McLaren fan right now, you're on top of the world because the boys are smashing it. They're doing such a good job, but they would be winning races were it not for Adrian Newey and the absolute monster that is Max Verstappen. Essentially, there's no beating Max really unless it's Singapore. But yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So if you're a McLaren fan right now, you should 100% be happy with the results and the stuff which is happening with the team at the moment. And it gives me, at least as a McLaren fan with my papaya tinted glasses, it gives me such a positive outlook for next year, even though typically McLaren don't start the season off particularly well in the last few years anyway. fingers crossed, because of how far they are so far, that will continue and hopefully go through onto next season as well. So let's see. Hopefully more podiums and maybe even some wins on the way. But yeah, like I said, with McLaren, Oscar obviously out qualified. Oscar as well. They had a great race.
Oscar out qualified Oscar.
Yeah. Sorry, Oscar out qualified Lando, but then obviously Lando got the position, and rightly so. Asked some team orders to let Lando go and make a little bit more of a gap, or try and hunt down Verstappen. Even though, let's be honest, we knew it was never going to happen. But yeah, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Couldn't ask any more of McLaren. Let's be honest.
No, I mean, the only thing I would add is Oscar does have the quali pace. But he does obviously show his inexperience in the race, where maybe he takes too much energy out the tires
potentially
early on, and that affects his race pace. But that's just going to come with time and experience and races. So
he's a rookie. He's a rookie.
He is absolutely smashing it. And every day, that decision not to race for Alpine
looks better and better and better and even better. And then also, we didn't really discuss it that much, but obviously Oscar's signed a contract extension. So very clearly he believes in the team as well. Deserves the extension.
Well, I would, from where that car has started to where it is now, McLaren are on the right path. And I realized, I don't know where I saw this, but they're not even using their own wind tunnel yet. So...
Oh, they're still not using their own wind tunnel.
Not using their own wind tunnel. So imagine what they'll do.
Do you reckon they're probably using the wind tunnel for next year's car? That's probably what they're doing. Because they said that the wind tunnel was online.
But there's not going to be too many changes for next year's car.
I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
I don't know. But that's what I heard. So fair play to them.
And if you are a McLaren fan and you're listening to this before like Monday afternoon, if you're very lucky, McLaren are doing 60% off fanware and stuff like that. So if you want to snag yourself a deal, go for it in celebration of the double podium. And I definitely haven't spent some money today.
Do you know what? I wish I was doing the walk at McLaren Park or driving. I'd like to see what color the sign is, if it's still orange.
Oh, I imagine it is. Yeah. I imagine it's still orange.
Well, no, it goes back to white, I think, on a Monday. So I wonder if it's lit up orange.
Yeah, I just meant I imagine it's still orange now as of recording at 4:30ish your UK time. So yeah, next team,
Ferrari P4 for Charles, P6 for Carlos.
Yep,
pretty solid race from both of them. Some good battles with the Mercedes, and really not much to say. There was maybe a chance for an undercut with Carlos. They decided to go against it. But yeah, look, I think that was the best they could do. The McLarens are quick. The Mercedes were quick. Decent pit. I think Charles Leclerc had the quickest pit stop of the race as well. So yeah, not really much to touch on. They're doing what they can, the best they can, bringing a solid haul of points. And if we have a look at the Constructors' Championship, they are now third with 285, so they're only 20 points off Mercedes.
True.
So that's going to be a good battle for second in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah. One thing is, I do wonder at what point McLaren, presuming that things carry on as per usual, I do wonder at what point McLaren catch Aston Martin.
So currently Aston Martin are on 221 and McLaren on 172.
Yep.
But with the way Aston are going with car development, with driver performances, I would not be surprised if McLaren make that up and manage. If you look at the tracks, bar Vegas, they're tracks that should suit McLaren with fast corners.
Especially Qatar. Qatar really suits McLaren.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd probably expect them to take P4. I think P3 is a bit, because it's over 100 points.
Yeah, P3's gone as far as I'm concerned.
But I could see them taking P4 in the championship. So nothing really much to touch on with Ferrari. Anything from your end?
I was just enjoying some tea. I think for me, Ferrari, like I said, I mentioned it briefly earlier. Ferrari ran a fantastic race, didn't really put a foot wrong. You could argue that the undercut that they attempted or didn't attempt or whatever could have played out slightly differently. But to be completely honest, I think they did pretty well. Like I they didn't really put a foot wrong. Let's be honest, they probably weren't going to catch the McLarens. Never really looked like they were. They battled Mercedes and they came out on top in terms of points. So yeah, they had a decent enough weekend.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about Mercedes. P5 for Lewis, P7 for George. Quite an eventful race for them.
Yeah, speaking of drinking tea, we had some tea on track, didn't we? Jesus Christ.
Some clashes, some overtakes, back and forth towards the end of the race when Hamilton was a quicker car and Sainz was coming up, and like, when do we invert? Do we invert? Do we keep the DRS? I think they left that a little bit longer than they should have, and should have just let Hamilton through a little bit earlier. And
so I feel as though Mercedes didn't do that correctly.
No, I agree, because George kind of wore out his tyres a little bit defending from Lewis, which allowed Carlos to come up. But
also, they switched positions, and realistically, the way that they should have done it was that Russell had younger tyres. So older tyres, sorry. So
10 laps older than Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. So what they should have done is they should have essentially like done exactly what Carlos did in the previous week, which he joked about as well. They're using my trick of like giving each other DRS to try and keep the cars behind, so that essentially also if you then try to overtake, you've got to overtake two Mercedes for it to possibly work. And I felt as though the team orders actually just let the Ferrari through quicker. Especially because they had quite a bit of a gap through to Aston Martin. I think they could have potentially like given each other DRS, maybe even backed up Sainz a little bit more. And I just think they played it wrong, personally.
Yeah, they could have, but yeah, they played it wrong. And
yeah, but also Russell and Hamilton were fighting each other on track as well. Like, I think Russell came.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
It was enjoyable. It was a little bit reminiscent of Monza, where the two Ferraris were battling as well. And so it was very entertaining, but it was a bit unnecessary for me personally. It was a bit like, you guys, like, surely you're not fighting. Are you fighting the people in front of you, or are you fighting each other? Which is ironically what George said on the radio.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite make sense to me. And we all know what happens when Mercedes drivers battle each other. It usually ends in tears. So it was just a bit, I don't know, it felt risky to me, whereas watching Ferrari battle each other at Monza, that didn't feel risky. That felt fun. Whereas this felt risky, but I don't know.
The instruction to swap the cars came from Toto.
Yes.
Can you imagine Toto just there resting, his knees probably all bandaged up, he's in pain, and he's watching his two drivers potentially could crash. Just get them on the phone now.
Yeah. But I can imagine him literally just like, oh God, like not even watching.
Yeah. He's like, where are some headphones I can break?
Yeah.
Next up is Aston Martin, P8 for Fernando. And unfortunately, Lance had damage to the rear of the car, so he was retired.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about Lance first. We'll get the bad news out of the way. So I think that, you know, with Stroll qualifying P17, points were pretty much out of the question for him. So
he did look racy at the start. You know, he was battling out the AlphaTauris, trying to push up. So I know there's been a lot said about his mindset and where, you know, does he care anymore and stuff like that. But I would say at the start of the race, he really was trying to go for it and see where he could get.
I think when you say he was racing with the AlphaTauris, I think that says a lot about where you are on the grid and where you're battling and where you're trying to make battles. That's not a good sign. Really.
I know, but that's where he is, and at least he tried. I'll give him that. And
he did try. But I think that obviously it was a race to forget for him purely because of damage. He could have potentially come back and scored points, but I just don't think he would have personally. But I think that Alonso suffered from a little bit of what he felt as though was bad strategy from the team, right? But otherwise, his racecraft was not too bad at all. Like he did well enough.
I mean, that's what you're going to get Fernando with. Fernando, he's going to maximize what he can. Yeah, he felt that the team pitted him a little bit early, and then they pitted him again for fresh hards, and he managed to make up a few positions. Obviously, him and Esteban had a bit of a battle. He couldn't get past him, and that was just basically pushing him back. And the Ferraris and the Mercedes would have got him, but it just made it easier. But this does not bode well for Aston Martin, right? Because if you see what McLaren, they're like the reverse McLaren. They're slowly going backwards, and right. And we all know what Papa Stroll wants, and it'll be interesting to know what it is. Are the upgrades not working? Is it not correlating? Is it the sim data? Because they started off well and they're going backwards, and ideally they want to be where McLaren are, and then use a
they were where McLaren are.
Use the brake to continue to upgrade the car, improve the car, and be continually batting for podium positions. So, and I don't see I don't see where Fernando could get another podium. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in P4 in the championship.
So. Yeah, obviously we discussed the constructors a little bit earlier, and it wouldn't surprise me if McLaren managed to take P4.
If they keep going the way they're going and the upgrades are working, it's just
there's not a lot you can do, really. I think that it's a bit of a shame, to be completely honest. But let's be frank. If they had capitalized and made use of having a very solid second driver for the first half of the season, they wouldn't be in this mess.
Well, that's nepotism. That's nepotism.
It's just a real shame. That's what it is. It's just a real shame. If you look at the points difference, so if you were to go to drivers and you would look at if you look at the points difference between Alonso 174, Stroll 47. So it's
we say this every podcast. It's like a broken record. It's nothing.
Yeah, I know, but it's not great. Even if Stroll were to have half the points of Alonso, so 85-ish, 85-ish, call it 85 because I can't do maths. If they were to have 85 points and then Stroll would that would almost double his points tally. So he were to have another 38 points. If you then go to the constructors and look at Aston Martins, if they were to have another 38 points, they would only be 15-ish behind Ferrari. So it's a big difference, isn't it? And that's not even asking the world from a second driver, personally. But I mean, maybe that's their plan. Maybe their plan is to go further down so that they can, I don't know, have more wind tunnel time. I doubt it, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, but the offset of wind tunnel time is money. Right?
That's the thing. Yeah, there's a lot of money,
and I'm sure the consortium and Papa Stroll it's okay. We're bringing our money in, but if you can.
It's a business. It's a business at the end of the day, and they will want to have more money coming in than money going out, as far as they're concerned. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, should we move on to the next team?
Yep, P9 and P10 were Alpine. A little bit of drama with Alpine at the end. Do you know about that?
Tell me what happened.
So basically, Pierre was the faster car and was told to get past Esteban. So Esteban let him pass so he could go and attack and see if he can gain some more positions. And all Pierre was told was Esteban was going to let you pass. And then towards the end of the race, they said, let Esteban, you didn't manage to get to P8, P7, let Esteban back through. And Pierre was fucking fuming. I think he gave the finger to the team because it's why didn't you tell me that before? Now, it was just miscommunication.
Didn't see that at all, level. No.
Yeah, so he let him through at the last corner, and he was fuming, absolutely angry. It's why didn't you tell me you were going to give the position back, kind of thing. So, yeah, Alpine, even when there's right, we're 9th to 10th, managed to get points, still somehow managed to create some drama.
From the outside looking in, I haven't seen the incident, so I can't really say that much. But the team still get the same amount of points, right?
Yeah, but it's different for the drivers, isn't it?
It's 1 point.
it doesn't matter. I think it's more like the principle.
It's the pride. It's the principle of it. I do understand that, but like, it's 1 point. Like, I don't think it would have been that much, especially because I'm just looking at it now. Gasly is ahead with 46 points, and Ocon is just behind with 38 points. They're 11th and 12th in the
every point counts,
constructors. Mate. So there is that. But then again, if Gasly's only 1 point behind Stroll.
Yeah. So and the reason Gasly was so annoyed because he's like, look, I would have been faster anyway. I would have overtaken him. So
yeah. It's not great, is it? To be completely honest, but there we go.
P11, P12, AlphaTauri, Liam and Yuki.
Yeah, I'm gutted. I'm gutted that
Yuki was in a point scoring position, but so unfair.
Yeah,
but I mean, look, P12 at your home race. If I'm Yuki, I'm like, yes, I finished the race.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think any result is better than a DNF for him.
Finish the race. I mean, he got into the top 10 as well. So to only go back a couple of positions, really happy for him. And Liam's just showing why he deserves a Formula One race seat.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at Liam Lawson and then the next team that not even the next team, the last team we'll talk about, when you look at the situation down at Williams, it's not looking good, is it?
I mean, Haas we've already covered. They were P14 and P15. Alfa Romeos, unfortunately, Valtteri, we'll talk about it more with Williams, but Valtteri was just basically dodge. What do you call them? Dodgems, bumper cars by Logan Sargent.
Just to touch a little bit on Haas, because I do want to spend a teeny tiny bit of time.
You want to talk about Haas? No, really?
Leave me alone, okay? There's a special place in my heart for Haas, and you know why. But for me, I felt like Haas did as well as they could do, and they're just waiting for the upgrades, which are due to come in Austin. So we'll see how well those upgrades perform.
All the upgrades need to do is just make sure they don't eat through their tires.
Pretty much, yeah. Hopefully they found a solution to that. I cross my fingers that they have found some sort of solution. Because they work so closely with Ferrari, and Ferrari seem to be looking towards their tires don't completely burn up within 3 laps. So hopefully there's been a little bit of communication there, and hopefully they've worked out something. Because although it's the perfect quali car, they need to improve their race pace. Or the perfect sprint race car anyway. So hopefully those upgrades work pretty well.
At Qatar, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there is, yes. So maybe that's why they're waiting for their upgrades to come after. Yeah, that's why they waited until Kota. It's because they want to keep their sprint race car pristine for this sprint race. I think they did as well as they could. And obviously Magnussen got twatted by Perez. So there's not really a lot you could have asked him to do.
No.
Yeah. So
Williams? And then Williams. So unfortunately, Alex was caught up through no fault of his own with an incident at the start, and I think. Well, from what I can tell, just damaged the car and they just couldn't finish the race. Really feel for him. Logan is, again, kind of showing why he should not be in Formula One. And, but don't know what he was doing. I do know what he was doing. Had a massive lockup, knocked out Valtteri, and it was just a bad race for him.
Very clumsy.
And I mean, if you look at what the other rookies are doing, Liam Lawson, Oscar Piastri, it's not really putting Logan in a good light. And considering how Williams are, he's like a reverse pay driver, right? Because they're paying millions to repair that car every time he damages it. So
a bit of a critique, right, is that, and I fully understand that there has to be, if there's multiple rookies, there has to be a best rookie of the season and the worst rookie of the season. But so far, Logan Sargent, from when he came in, and we said this before, he hasn't had a particular moment where we've gone, wow, how's he pulled that off in a Williams? How on earth has he done that? And we haven't really seen him improve throughout the season, which is really disappointing. I mean, maybe he'll pull something out of the bag, but I feel as though he's had a complete disaster of a weekend. Maybe not quite as bad as Perez, but it's not great. Like, you've binned it in quali, and then you've been given a 10-place grid penalty because the mechanics have essentially used a third car, which is, again, what we discussed earlier as well. Last episode before, about having a third car, and F1 teams used to have a third car, and blah, 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 blah. But they got a 10-place grid penalty, which doesn't really matter when you're at the back anyway. But still having a grid penalty is bad, and not the best start. And then to take out Bottas and then retire, it's just not a race weekend to remember, is it?
Yeah, he's not showing improvement. That's the problem.
No.
If it was at the first few races of the season, we can understand. But we're getting towards the business end of the season. It's coming to a close, and he's still making these mistakes.
Let's potentially look. So obviously the previous comparison that I did was I compared Alonso to Stroll. Now, if you were to compare Alex to Logan, even if Alex were to have half the points of even if Logan was to have half the points of Alex, then Williams would have 30 and a half points, 31 and a half points. Because obviously Alex has scored 21 so far this season, which, although wouldn't push them up towards Alpine in the constructors, it would essentially confirm that 7th spot, especially for a team which has usually finished 10th or 9th in the last few seasons. It's super, super important when those points come. And if Haas have got upgrades coming, they're only 9 points behind. So who's to say that gap couldn't suddenly close? And then that's millions of dollars that they've lost in constructor points as well. And also, like, Alfa Romeo are only on 10, so they're only 11 points behind Williams as well. So it would have solidified their P7 in the constructors a little bit earlier. So I feel as though, especially if they're overtaken in the constructors and they finish 8th or maybe even 9th, because Haas and Alfa Romeo, for some, like, start scoring points, then Logan's gone regardless. But I think that, especially with like Liam Lawson on the field, I almost said, on the grid as well, like, it just goes to show that he's only had a couple of races and he's already pulled it out of the bag. And that car is capable of scoring points, and you haven't.
No, I agree. At least if they could see improvement, like, he might not be scoring points, but at least he's improving.
Yeah.
He's close to Alex in times and closer up the grid.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's not. He's making rookie mistakes, which he's a rookie, but he's making them where he shouldn't be making them, unfortunately.
True. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt for the incident in Zandvoort, because that was not his fault. That was a technical fault. So I don't think anyone said anything. No,
so.
But he was doing pretty well and could have potentially scored points that race, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Technically he's the only rookie not to score points this season. So and like I said, when you've got a counterpart in Oscar Piastri, who admittedly was much more dominant in previous series, scoring podiums, it just doesn't look good, does it?
It doesn't. But maybe he could do better at Mexico and Vegas, which suit the Williams. So we shall see. But I love the Japanese Grand Prix. Solid race, solid racing. What a track. Good action all around. Super happy for Oscar to be on the podium. And looking forward to Qatar.
Yes, Qatar should be really awesome. Obviously not a typical Formula One track, but I mean, last season it was interesting enough.
It was, but wasn't it at the start last season?
Yeah, it was interesting enough at the start, and then
Ferrari
also
were kind of offering a bit of a battle.
Alonso was quite tasty that race, from what I remember.
I don't think the Aston's got it, unfortunately.
It does, yeah, no. But
looking at the track, I think we're going to look at another McLaren. McLaren's up there as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll discuss it on the next podcast. But
exactly.
And sprint race is back. So
the sprint race is back, which is good. And again, I will just say, please check your timings for next weekend's race as well. I'm pretty sure that normal service has resumed. It will be a normal time for most of the Europeans.
For us, it's evening time. So the sprint shootout is 2:00 for me. and then 6:30 for the sprint itself, and the race is at 6.
Yeah,
so
nice. But we're a couple of weeks away, so we've got a bit of time to set your
and it's
alarm
evening
clocks.
time. 6 o'clock is that's like a normal time.
Not a random time at all. That day we definitely won't be recording the podcast on the same day as the race finishes. But is there anything else you want to talk about during the race? Any moments potentially in quali? Because there's one more final topic which I'd like to round out the podcast with.
No. You know what I will say? Helmets were cool. Alonso and Hamilton.
Oh yeah, that wasn't what I was going to bring up. But some of the special helmets this week. I
like that chrome. The chrome Hamilton helmet was my favorite.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit like underwhelming because in the Instagram photos and stuff like that, it had the front lit up, which has obviously been photoshopped on, and I felt like that's what made it really cool, not the actual helmet itself. Personally, so I thought it was cool, but not as cool. Alonso's for me best helmet of the season.
Really,
easily the best helmet of the season. It's classy, it's cool, it's very him. Helmet of the season. We'll do our end of season awards. We should do a little award show, and we can do. It would be really funny as well if we actually sent to the factory like a little certificate. We can send each of the Formula One teams like the awards that they win. We'll just send them little certificates that like very clearly have been like hand drawn and stuff like that. I'd be ready to see that little like bit of paper up on the trophy cabinet in the Red Bull when we give them some sort of award.
Make it as bad as possible. Use word art.
Yeah, exactly. Word art. I'm talking like misspelled words. And then instead of exporting the image, we just take a screenshot. So it's got like, you know, the little like red underlines where you misspell words. It's still got that on it too.
Do you know what you should do is design it really well in Photoshop and then take a picture of your phone.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah. Or what even better, I take a picture of a picture on my phone because I've got two phones, so I can just line them up. But yeah, no, we should definitely do that. We should definitely plan like an end of seasons like awards.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And we'll just give awards to like the most random stuff we could possibly do. Yeah, like most comical like pit stop or like something stupid like that.
When the BBC had the rights to Formula One, they did do some like fun awards.
Nice, yeah.
They do that overtake of the season and stuff, and then they had some more like best radio of the season and stuff.
Oh yeah, we need to do stuff like that. Absolutely.
You had one last thing before you wrap up.
Yes, I actually thought of two things now, because of course I have. And I've forgotten one of them.
I have that. There's like, I definitely want to talk about this, and then once Jacob's finished, I'm like, shit, I've forgotten what I want to talk about.
Oh god, I've forgotten the thing. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But the topic I definitely wanted to bring up was just it was awesome seeing every single driver support Seb this weekend.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Very heartwarming. I absolutely love it. If you don't know, Seb was stood there during the race at turn 2. He was watching the race from turn 2, watching all the cars go by.
From the B hotel.
Stood next to his B hotels. So if you notice that turn 2, the curbs were painted black and yellow in the colours of, you guessed it, Bs. But every single one of the drivers came down and helped paint and design, and also a lot of the team principals came as well to help design all of the little B hotels as well. It was just very heartwarming, very lovely.
Yeah, it's very nice, and bees are amazing.
Well, yeah.
Like bees are like one of the most important animals in the world.
Absolutely,
I don't think people understand.
So it was absolutely amazing to see.
And wasps, yeah.
Yeah, fuck wasps. Honestly, if you're a wasp, you're an op. But yeah, no, the bee hotels are absolutely brilliant. Seb just becomes even more wholesome by the minute, especially with his quote saying "it hurts." I didn't know it would hurt this much watching these cars go past. So. Yeah, who knows? Maybe he will have conversations in the background off the back of this race. I doubt it. Maybe one or two, maybe coming as a test driver or whatever, or like a senior role, maybe in the Red Bull setup. But I would love to see him back in and around the world of Formula One. But I don't see it happening for a couple of years.
Taking over from Christian Horner.
Who knows? Honestly, I was maybe even thinking taking over from Helmut.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That would also make a lot of sense as well.
And probably Red Bull must think, that's one less headache.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that is one less headache. Or potentially even he comes in as team principal of Alpha Tauri boss / Adidas Racing or whatever it is that they're going to title or rebrand the team as next season. But that is a conversation topic for another episode. I think that about wraps it up because I've forgotten my other topic of conversation.
Well, the only one I can just say to you is Sergio Perez actually scored points. Yeah, he got 4 penalty points for his.
Oh, okay, good. Right, I was going to say, how on earth did he? No, there's no way. What? Yeah, 4 penalty points.
Leclerc got the fastest pit stop, which is good.
Yep.
And Sainz was the second fastest. So
nice.
Big.
Ferrari.
We have to do this because we always shit on Ferrari. So when they do good stuff, we got to
praise them. We got to praise them.
I
have a soft spot for Ferrari. And I do like to see them win. So hats off to Ferrari for sorting out their stuff.
But yeah, 2 weeks to Qatar. I'm sure some drama will happen in the next couple of weeks that we can talk about.
Yeah. Do you think that because essentially I think it would be best so that they don't get backlash, that the contract situation for Logan Sargent will be sorted before Qatar? And I say that because if you say that he's not having his contract extended at COTA, that's not a good idea whatsoever.
Well, no, if they're going to extend it, they should say it probably at one of the American Grand Prix. And if they're not, just leave it till the end of the season.
Yeah. But could they maybe wrap it up in the next couple of weeks? Maybe. But only if he's being replaced.
Oh, yeah, and if he's been replaced, and if they are keeping him for a year, it should be after a good performance. There's no point in him having Japan and saying, "Oh yeah, we're keeping Logan for another year."
Yeah,
people are gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, those engineers when he crashed in.
I know the head in the hands. You really
they looked like they wanted to just the earth to swallow them up.
Yeah,
but yeah,
cool.
There we go. That was it. That's enough from us. We've been recording now for a while, so. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Why do we always do this at the end? We always say, because nobody's ever going to make it to the end, or very little people. Yeah. Please be sure to rate and subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is you want to listen to it on. And be sure to leave us a rating as well, because it really does help. And might as well while we're here, because nobody's going to be listening at this point. Check us out on YouTube as well, because we upload, if you want to watch the videos of these podcasts, they're on YouTube for free. You don't even have to have a subscription. You don't even have to have an Apple device. Brilliant. Unbelievable.
And if you like memes, follow us on TikTok and Instagram.
That reminds me. I need to put some of the memes that I did create up on YouTube because they typically bring in subscribers, which is quite cool.
Cool.
But yeah, all right then. Well, that'll be it. Why don't you take us out? I'll let you do the outro.
Okay. Congratulations to Max Verstappen on winning the Qatar Grand Prix and the Drivers' World Championship. Hot take of the year. But no, thank you all for listening. Enjoy a couple of weeks off. I'm sure there'll be a lot of drama. And my heart goes out to those in time zones where the Qatar Grand Prix is going to be at stupid o'clock for you. All right. I feel for you. But yeah, I said this because we got a lot of comments on one of the memes about it. I genuinely respect those who do this on the regular, getting up at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 6 a.m. to watch the sport you love. That's true dedication. That's a true fan. And with Formula One getting bigger in America, hopefully you'll have some more races around your time zones. But yeah, enjoy your time off, and we'll speak to you soon about Qatar.
Speak to you soon. We'll be back next week. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.